The first type of sequence we're going to look at is arithmetic sequences. And the key to knowing if it's an arithmetic sequence or not, you have two types, arithmetic or geometric. And arithmetic means that the difference between your consecutive terms is constant. So that is your key here to knowing what kind of sequence you're looking at. So a list of numbers where the differences of consecutive terms is constant, and the constant difference is called the common difference and is denoted by D. So that difference will be D. So it says, tell whether each is arithmetic or not. So if we look at number 1 and number 2, or number 1 and number 3, we're going from term to term. So the first term is negative 3, and then from negative 3 to 1, that's adding 4, 1 to 5, plus 4, 9 to 13, plus 4. So in this case, it is arithmetic. So we're going to say, yes, it is, and the common difference is 4. So if we look at number 3, negative 10 to negative 6, that's adding 4, negative 6 to negative 2, add 4, so far so good. Negative 2 to 0 is just 2, and then it goes back to 4, back to 4. So in this case, not every single one of your differences is the same, so this is not arithmetic. So simple as that. Your difference between each of your terms has to be common or the same. So there is a rule for an arithmetic sequence, and you can sort of think of it as an equation. It says the nth term of an arithmetic sequence, so like n, a sub n is your term number. So if it's the third term, it would say a sub 3. So if you're given the first term, a sub 1, and you know the common difference, d, your rule is going to be, okay, your term number, a sub n, equals whatever your first term is, a sub 1, plus the difference times the term number minus 1. So as long as you guys remember what everything is, so a sub n is your term value. And again, you don't have to write this down. I'm just reminding you guys. A sub 1 is your first term value. D is your common difference. And the n is your term number. Not the term value, the term number. They're different. So the nth term, so it says, it gives you an example there. It says the nth term of an arithmetic sequence with the first term of 2 and the common difference of 3 is given by a sub n, that's your rule, equals 2 plus 3. So you guys could rewrite this. I always write the difference out in front. 2 plus 3 times n minus 1. But if you distribute that 3 in there, it would be 2 minus 3. That's how they get this negative 1 plus 3n. So they just simplify it. So that's really all there is to it. So let's go ahead and try to use this rule and write one ourselves. So it says write a rule for the nth term of the sequence. It gives you the sequence 50, 44, 38, 32, continued. And then it asks us to find a sub 20. So it asks us to find this here is your 20th term. Okay, so I'll just write the rule down here. A sub n equals your first term plus the difference times your term number minus 1. Okay, so let's first find the difference. So the difference from 50 to 44 is minus 6. 44 to 38 is minus 6. 38 to 32 is minus 6. So the difference is going to be negative 6. So instead of plus, I'm just going to write minus 6 and minus 1. And my first term is 50. So that's going to go where your a sub 1 is. So if you guys actually simplify this, a sub n is going to equal 50 minus 6, and negative 6 is negative 1 is plus 6. So a sub n equals 56 minus 6n. So that's going to be your rule. And it says, okay, we'll find the 20th term. Okay, well, a sub 20 is going to equal, and I'm just using my rule that I just found, so 56 minus 6 times, we're trying to find the 20th term, so 6 times 20. So 6 times 20 is 120. So a sub 20 equals negative 64. So your 20th term value would be negative 64. So it's not quite, it is a linear function, but it's not necessarily based off of like a y-intercept or what you're used to. It's really based off that first term in your sequence. So you guys can go ahead and try the other one. I'm going to continue on here and look at trying to write a rule if we're given a difference and a term number rather than just a couple of terms. So it says one term, it gives you one term. It gives you the 13th term, which it says is equal to 30. And then it gives you the common difference, which it says is 3/2. So it wants us to write a rule. So just fill in what you know. And again, your rule is a sub n equals your first term plus the difference times the term number minus 1. Okay, so we have the term number, a sub 13. And it's equal to 30. So 30 equals, we don't know that first term, so I'm just going to leave a sub 1 there. We know the difference is 3/2. And we know that the term number is 13 minus 1. So I'm going to distribute my 3/2. I'm going to try to solve for that first term because we need the first term to be able to write our rule. So 3/2 times 13 minus 1. Well, you don't necessarily have to distribute because 13 minus 1 is just 12. So 12 times 3 gives us 36 divided by 2 gives us 18. Subtract 18, and we get 12 as your first term. So now that we know that 12 is our first term, we can go over here and write our rule. So a sub n, whatever term number we're trying to find, is going to equal 12 plus 3/2 times n minus 1. So if you leave it like this, guys, I am okay with that, but I am going to simplify it and say a sub n equals 12 plus 3/2 n minus 3/2. So 12/2 is really, or 12 in halves, is 24/2. So 24 minus 3 gives us 21/2 plus 3/2 n. So that would be simplified. I would not count it wrong if you guys left it as there. It's just that when you're going to plug, when you start going to plug your terms back in, it's a lot nicer to plug it into a simplified equation rather than one that's not simplified. It's just less math for you. But either one is correct. Now it's asking us to write a rule again and find the value of n for which a sub n equals 40. So it's asking us to write a rule and find what term value equals 40. So in this case, it gives us two terms, and we know that a sub n equals 40. Okay, well, if we're trying to find a common difference here, that's what I would do first. So I would try to find the difference, and that's just sort of like finding your slope. You're going to say, okay, because remember your domain and range, the input are the term numbers, and the output are the values of that term. So if you're putting output over input, just like when you find slope, y over x, you would do 55 minus 10 over 21 minus 6. So the difference is going to be 45 over 15, which equals 3. So the difference equals 3. Okay, well, now that we know the difference, we need to be able to find our first term. We have two terms. So if we just sort of continue on here, and remember, always remember what the rule is. A sub n equals your first term plus the difference times your term number minus 1. So in this case, we could say our term number equals a sub 1 plus, we now know that the difference is 3 times n minus 1. Well, we know n, we could use either of the two terms that they gave us. So if we use a sub 6 is 10. The whole term value is 10. We need to find that first term, okay, plus our difference of 3 times the term number, which is 6 minus 1. So 6 minus 1 is 5. 5 times 3 is 15. So a sub 1 plus 15. Subtract that 15 over and get negative 5 as your first value. Okay, keep going. Now that we know a sub 1, we can finally write our rule because we have the difference and we have a sub 1. You need the first term and the difference. So a sub n equals your first term, which is negative 5 plus 3 times n minus 1, because your difference is 3. So if you actually simplify it out, you will get a sub n equals negative 5 plus 3n minus 3. So our rule is a sub n equals negative 8 plus 3n. So that's our rule. And again, I'm just writing out every single step possible. But then it asks us to find the value for which a sub n equals 40. So all that means is that you're going to plug in 40 and find n. So 40 equals your first term, which is negative 5. And actually, since I have my rule, I can just go right to that rule. So negative 8 plus 3 times n. So I'm going to add that 8 and make this 48 equals 3n. So n equals 16. So that would be your 16th term. So you could write it as that, or you could say 40 equals a sub 16. However you want to write it, either way would be correct. Alright, so it's got some practice problems for you guys to do. But again, as you're working, let me know if you have any problems. And I would be more than happy to help. But try those practice problems and see how they go.